Hi loves, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marilyn and this is Scorpio Rising Soul. For today's video, I will be talking about some of the decks that you can use to connect with Santa Muerte. If you are just starting off working with Santa Muerte, you can connect with her through tarot or oracle cards. And this card is actually from a tarot deck that I own, which is called El Tarot de la Santa Muerte. And I think it's a perfect beginner deck that you can work with to connect with her, because this is, a deck for her. But of course, you don't have to own this deck to work with her. That's what is so great about tarot. It's very diverse. But I will show you guys some of the decks that you can use that I feel carry Santa Muerte's energy. So the first oracle is called Flowers from the Dead. And this deck is very special to me because I bought this deck when I was 16. And I wasn't working with Santa Muerte then. I started working with Santa Muerte at the age of 19. And this deck is very symbolic to me because not only does it depict bone art, but it has the energy of animal medicine. And I love animals. I love working with animal medicine. And Santa Muerte, in my practice, I have found that she also has a lot of love for animals. I don't know if any other devotee feels the same way, but I've noticed that she does. This deck also gives me the vibe of like casting bones and like divining with bones, but without actually divining with bones, I forget what it's called. I think it's called osteomancy. I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but this deck has such a beautiful energy. It's very soothing. But at the same time, it's like heavily packed with a lot of information and a lot of wisdom. But I feel like as your tarot or like oracle practice goes and continues to grow, so does your intuition. So it took me a long while, to get to where I am to divine with this oracle deck. And I'm not sure, but like when this first came out, I don't think there was a guidebook. And if there was a guidebook, I lost it. And if you were to combine this with your journey with Santa Muerte, I feel like you could get some really good messages with this oracle deck. I feel like this is more like a intermediate, advanced, maybe, type of oracle deck if you're working with Santa Muerte, because it doesn't have much imagery that represents Santa Muerte like this, but I think it does because of like the bone, the exoskeleton. And in my practice, I feel, I don't know, like I get the energy of like Santa Muerte just really protecting animals. And like, she has her owl and it's like her messenger. Well, obviously her owl is her messenger. And I feel like all the more connected, because like I feel like when I'm connecting with this deck, specifically for guidance with Santa Muerte, I feel like her owl comes through and like gives me the messages of the certain animal medicine that needs to be heard, if that makes sense. And I really enjoy that. And whenever this card comes out, I just know it's confirmation for me. So yeah, this is Flowers from the Dead. I checked yesterday to see if this was still available. The shop, I think, is currently under a hiatus, so like a break, but I'm still going to link it down below. This is a tarot deck, and it is the Santa Muerte Tarot Book of the Dead by Fabio Listrani. And this is the first Santa Muerte themed deck that I ever purchased. And this was a while ago. And for me, I feel like it took me a while, or it's still kind of taking me a while to like fully break this deck, to like fully connect with the artwork and stuff. But I do enjoy it. When I first received this, I was all about it. It was clear communication, with Santa Muerte. I actually really do enjoy the artwork. And every tarot deck or oracle deck has its own specific energy. And when I first received this deck, for me, like I was still working on my connection with her and, deciphering her messages and, trying to find a middle ground to see what would be best to communicate with and, and to this day, I don't really pick this deck up as much to connect with her because I have my other deck that I use. But when I do pick this up, it's always a nice treat because I feel like this was like my first, This was like my first introduction into fully immersing my intuition and connecting with her. So this was all about like learning, and it was kind of like classes basically with her, going to class with Santa Muerte and like figuring and deciphering. And like I've been practicing tarot for like over 8 years now, and like I know the meanings of the cards, right? But it's a totally different thing when you're reading just solely with your intuition and it, kind of ignoring the main messages that you already know for the certain card, So this to me is like my learning block. It's my learning deck when I first started working with Santa Muerte. And I do enjoy it. She's always testing me with this one, with this deck, which is fun. And I get a lot of alchemy energy, and like being an alchemist, it's a pretty, well, I guess it's not difficult. Actually, I don't even know. I think it is. For me, I think it is difficult to be an alchemist because you have to center your mind and be in balance and be very sure of yourself. And so yeah, I say, like, if I could describe this deck in one word, it would be alchemist, philosopher's stone. It's a lot of knowledge and a lot of learning. And I think this is a beginner-friendly deck. Yeah, it's a beginner-friendly deck because it's kind of, traditional Rider-Waite tarot. And I think that the guidebook does a really good job of explaining the certain meanings. And this is a Santa Muerte themed deck. So I feel like the guidebook, if you're working with Santa Muerte and connecting to her with this deck, I feel like, you will be able to reach a middle ground with her, and have, strong communication with her. But in my case, like everybody's case is different. Everybody's relationship with Santa Muerte is different. And for me, it was more so like I knew the meanings of the tarot deck, obviously, but I had to learn to look past that and fully immerse my intuition when working with her, if that makes sense. Not to mention the artwork is stunning. I love it. Like, look at this. The Empress and the Emperor. I love the artwork. It's beautiful. It's got, Mexican aspects to it. It's gorgeous. And, Santa Muerte's birthplace is Mexico. That is where she's from. But she is not only tied to Mexico. She is universal. Death is a universal energy that we all experience. So anybody from any race, any culture can work with Santa Muerte. Mictecacihuatl, that is her name. So, yeah, this is another deck that I think would be a great addition to your collection if you are wanting to work with Santa Muerte and communicate with her through tarot. Now, this one is the Santa Muerte Oracle, Book of the Dead, and this is the counterpart to the Tarot de la Santa Muerte, Book of the Dead, by the same author, Fabio Listrani. And I think this one, even if you don't have the tarot deck, the Oracle deck does fine on its own. And the guidebook does a really good job of explaining the artwork. And what I like about this, what I like about both of these decks, so this one and this one, is that Fabio Listrani really included Mesoamerican culture and the Aztec pantheon, because in this oracle deck, not only is Mictecacihuatl honored and shown, but so is Quetzalcoatl, which is the feathered serpent. There's so many other gods, other pantheon gods in here, and goddesses. This is Tlaloc. This is Chalchitlicue. So I think this is great. If you want to connect with the aspect of Santa Muerte that is ancient, her true self, where she originated from, connecting with Mictecacihuatl, I feel like this oracle deck would do really good for that. But I mean, it really doesn't matter, because your connection with Santa Muerte is unique to you and her only, And there's a lot of people that will say, this is how you're supposed to connect with her and venerate with her. But no, that's just, you have to do what you feel is right. What I've learned is that starting off working with Santa Muerte, you will get attacked. Even if, you keep your whole spiritual practice very closed and stuff, you don't really let anybody in and stuff, somehow, some way, you're always going to be introduced to the negative side of working with Santa Muerte, and people that will just constantly lay their opinions and their judgment on her and the people that work with her, and you really have to ignore it, because a lot of people just don't understand, and there's a lot of people that are in misalignment. People are always well, Jesus, or religious people, right? They'll be well, Jesus looks down upon death, and Santa Muerte, what is that? You can't be working with such, that's the devil, type energy, right? And it's well, Jesus went through death. You know what I mean? We all go through death. Death is just an energy. It's a transformation. If you believe that there's life after death, then you know what I'm trying to say, because if you don't believe that there's life after death, then that's your life journey, right? That's your specific life timeline experience or whatever, but you never know. Don't hate, because you never know what could happen down the road. The world spins daily. So, there's different things that can happen in your journey. And what's even more crazy is that, it be people in the own Santa Muerte community that cause up the negativity and the stir-ups. because there's a lot of people that think that you should be venerating Santa Muerte if you have certain qualifications, or if you are from a certain race, or you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of disgusting. And there's a lot of people that think that you should only venerate her the traditional Catholic way. But it's like, there is no traditional Catholic way without also acknowledging her past, present, and future in Mexico, because that is where she is from. That is where she originated from. You know what I mean? So I think that everybody's relationship with Santa Muerte is unique and different, and you should only follow your heart. you know? Keep an open mind. And I'll repeat again, you do not have to be a certain race, culture. You don't have to be, there's no qualifications to work with Santa Muerte. The energy of death is universal. We all undergo death. We all undergo physical death, and we all undergo transformation. Like, these are cycles, they're rebirths. You know what I mean? So anybody has the right to connect and work with Santa Muerte, but also knowing that, learning about her, learning about her history, learning about where she came from, where was her birthplace, you know what I mean? So, being respectful and mindful of the culture. But the relationship is uniquely yours and yours only, and you should never let anybody tell you how to work with Santa Muerte or venerate her. Also, want to point out that if you're wanting to get these decks by Fabio Listrani, his guidebooks come in different languages as well. So, like, it has 6 different languages all in that guidebook. So it has, English, it has Spanish, it has Italian, it has French, Portuguese. So, just the, yeah, just in case you were wondering, like, if you speak a different language, and, this is what I like about these decks, is that, like, it has different languages that you can understand and enjoy the cards all the same, So, yeah. And this was published by Los Carabeo. So I got these both off of Amazon, and I think almost all of Los Carabeo's decks are printed in like 6 different languages, and it's all included in the guidebook, which is great. Okay, this next one is another oracle, and it's the Ancestor Spirit Oracle cards by Jade Sky. And so, speaking on like ancestor energy and work, right? For me, Santa Muerte allows me to connect to my ancestors. I mean, even if I wasn't working with her, I'm still able to connect with my ancestors, But Santa Muerte is one of the biggest reasons why we celebrate Day of the Dead in Mexico, right? She works alongside with her husband, Mictecacihuatl, and they are both rulers of the underworld. And with this deck, I just feel like it's such a nice touch, especially when I'm working with my ancestors. I need that extra help from her so that I may fluidly connect with my ancestors. I absolutely love this deck for speaking with my ancestors. I mean, this is an Ancestor Spirit Oracle deck. But I feel like the messages with this deck, it really, for me, like, usually whenever I'm scrolling through YouTube to like find tarot readings, I'm always like trying to find readings on like life purpose and like career and like, my mission here on earth, right? And how I can better connect my spiritual practice and gain that access and spiritual advice from like my ancestors and my spirit guides, And this deck does that for me. The messages are so clear, which I really love. So this is another good deck to keep an eye out for if you're wanting to connect with Santa Muerte and, connect with your ancestors as well, doing that ancestral work, I think that she comes through very strongly because she's death. She's death. She's the energy of death. And our ancestors, our antepasados, we have the face of our ancestors. We have a long bloodline of our ancestors, and our ancestors live within us. And at some point in time, our ancestors prayed for somebody like us to come and walk on this earth, just like they did, And I think it's very special, and it connects to everybody. We all have ancestors, So, yeah, this is a very beautiful deck that I absolutely adore. And the energy is immaculate. The vibes are just great. This is a great deck to have whenever you're just trying to meditate with Santa Muerte and, see what the energies are looking like. And, also, I found that in my practice that, like, this deck helps me connect to the Akashic Records, so, which is really cool. Like, I haven't, like, fully immersed myself in Akashic Records studies and, like, work. But this deck does that. Like, this deck helps me connect, because the Akashic Records is like a big library full of everything, full of all of the information of your life and your past lives and your ancestors and stuff. So this is nice. It's really nice. I also want to point out that ancestor work is very complex. It's very convoluted. There's a lot of energies that you need to sift through when connecting with your ancestors, and Santa Muerte is really good at helping you connect to that person or to that loved one that you need to connect with, and this deck does that as well. Like, it will help you see clearly what you need to see and the message that you need to receive from your ancestor or from Santa Muerte, So that's that deck. And then the last oracle deck that I have is the Dia de los Muertos Oracle by Emily K. Greaves, de Reyes Contla. And this one is just a treat. I mean, come on. Do I need to say more? Look at this. I love this. This is just so reminiscent of just, like, growing up, like, my childhood. I mean, my mother's not with me right now. She's in Mexico, so she's having the time of her life. I already know it. But the Day of the Dead, like, we'd always have our ofrenda. We'd always have our offering, like, our altar for our deceased loved ones. And I just love it. I love my culture. I love my ancestral culture. I love what my parents teach me, have taught me. And like I said, Santa Muerte for me is the energy of love. It's the frequency of love. A lot of people think that she's scary and she looks very different and, like, just intimidating, but she loves all her children. She loves everybody. This deck is self-explanatory. This is Day of the Dead. Guidance, messages from your loved ones, with the Mexican culture, traditions, and this deck obviously connects really well with Santa Muerte, Mictecacihuatl. I love that. I love this. It's perfect. And look, we have Virgen de Guadalupe, who is Tonantzin-Kotlikyu, which is Mother Earth. And Mictlan is the underworld. That is where Santa Muerte resides. That is where Santa Muerte resides with her husband, Mictecacihuatl. And, I mean, that's in the pantheon mythology, of course, but, the energies. Alebrijes, which are animals that are said to guide us when we go into the underworld, to the 9 stages of the underworld, when we are making our way towards Mictlan, If you have a dog, we venerate dogs. We love dogs. Dogs are kind of like our wayfarers into the underworld. They help cross us across the river. I love dogs. I have 4 dogs of my own. And if you have a dog or if you have a cat, you know how special that bond is. It's unbreakable. Our dogs, animals, they're here to teach us compassion and unconditional love. So I think it's beautiful. This deck is really nice. This deck speaks volumes. So this is another deck that you can consider adding to your collection if you want, oracle decks to connect with Santa Muerte. This is a really nice one. And I think it just recently came out this year as well, or last year, I'm not sure. But the artwork is beautiful. It's very true and representative of Mexican culture and traditions. Here we go. We have Quetzalcoatl again, which is the feathered serpent, the god of knowledge. I think it's nice. I've already showed this deck on a few previous videos of mine, but this is the Tarot de la Santa Muerte by Roberto Castro. And this is the deck that is from Mexico. It was made in Mexico. I got it off of Amazon, so it's mass market. But when I've gone around the botanicas around my area, I've seen that they display this deck. So, you could find it in a botanica, I think. But, this is traditional Rider-Waite. Just influenced with Santa Muerte imagery. And I like it because it has the different robe colors of Santa Muerte. And this to me, I like this deck. I love how straightforward it is. I love how honest it is. There's no contemplating or guessing to see what, messages are coming through, because the guidance is right there. It's very straightforward. This is the deck that I use daily, on a daily basis, for my personal readings, for client readings, especially when they want a Santa Muerte reading. I use this deck. And the messages are phenomenal. It's very straight, very true, honest, and I enjoy the energy of this deck. And this is my favorite card of this deck, actually. It's the Más Allá, which is the Beyond. And we can see Santa Muerte here. We can see Anubis. We can see... I think this is Odin. I'm not so sure about the other gods and goddesses on here, but I feel like these are the aspects of Santa Muerte in different cultures, in different pantheons, And it just shows how we're all interconnected. The frequency is love. You know what I mean? We're all the same. It's just different teachings, different stories and myths and folklore, But it's real, because it happens. Everything that we see from our ancestors, it had to have a reason, or else why would it be built? Why would that be there? You know what I mean? There's some truth to it. There is truth to it. So this is another one. This is a great, fantastic deck. El Tarot de la Santa Muerte on Amazon. All of these decks that I have are on Amazon, so I will link them down below so that you can get them. And yeah, these are great decks. All of the decks that I've shown are fantastic for connecting with Santa Muerte, Mictecacihuatl. So yeah. Anyways, guys, I hope that you enjoyed these recommendations, these oracle picks and tarot decks that I think can help you connect with Santa Muerte. They're all Santa Muerte influenced, aside from the ancestors, spirit, oracle cards, and the flowers from the dead. But all of these decks, in my practice, I feel have helped me communicate more eloquently and more fluidly with Santa Muerte Mictecacihuatl. So yeah, these are just some of the picks. Of course, there's some other decks that I have that I have no resemblance or energy of Santa Muerte, but they also help connect with Santa Muerte easily, I've noticed. But these are just some of the picks that I think can help you. And they're also very nice and beginner friendly. So yeah, keep that in mind. If you are wanting to branch out into communicating with Santa Muerte using tarot or oracle, for instance, I would recommend for you to like if you're a total beginner in tarot, I would recommend for you to start off with like the Rider-Waite tarot, because that's what I also started off with as well. My first tarot deck was actually the Wild Unknown tarot by Kim Kronz, and going into that, dude, I had no idea. Definitely the wild unknown. I was stepping into an unknown chapter of my life. So it took a while for me to get used to the tarot meanings and the traditional meanings, of course. It was only until I started working with Santa Muerte that she helped me connect with her more fluidly and helped me elevate my intuition, because I've been practicing tarot for like 8 years now, going on 9. And I learned pretty quickly like the messages and like the traditional meanings to the cards, right? But when I was called to work with her, when she called me to work with her, and using the tarot, that was a way for me to fully immerse myself with her and in using my intuition. And it's kind of hard, like using your intuition and solely relying on your innate feeling and gut feelings. It takes time and practice. It's not a walk in the park. It takes time, because that is like tarot is what ultimately helped bridge that connection with Santa Muerte. It helped me because I've always known of Santa Muerte, Mictecacihuatl, right? Like, my father, he's always had a statue of her. I just never really, paid much attention to it. I would light her candles and stuff like that, but I wasn't really, fully immersed. I was a child. I was more... I don't know what I was doing, but I just wasn't called to her then and there, But when Santa Muerte comes to you and she calls you, it's crazy, y'all. Every devotee, their testimony is very different. Their experience is wild. Everybody's relationship with her is different. Anyways, I'm going off a tangent. I forgot what I was going to say. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you're a new Santa Muerte devotee, welcome. I'm so excited for you. And keep your protection up high. Saying no is also protection. Abundance and success is your birthright. All of you, everybody. Peace and love is the mission. And don't let anybody tell you how you are supposed to work with Santa Muerte, because your relationship with Santa Muerte is unique to only you. And yeah, I hope that you have fun. Have fun in your journey. And I wish you so well. So many blessings and love. See you guys.